Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the season finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, One World, One People. And, taken overall, it was kind of the best ending that you could get out of what occurred. And I did enjoy aspects of this ending and the series overall, but talking with some people, one of my friends, Reaver, came up with the term plot salad, and that definitely is what occurred here. Because the thing is, you'd hear the term plot salad and think, that could be an okay thing. It's like, yeah, you got these elements and everything, and when it's assembled correctly, yeah, plot salad would work out pretty fine. Let's see here. But in this case, it's almost like making a plot salad out of like peanut butter, pickles, and rhubarb. And if you're a really talented kind of person, you can kind of make that shit go together. I'm not saying that somebody can't, but you're going to have a tough time working that. Because let's see how this is supposed to be going. We've got the overarching whole plot of like dealing with Captain America's legacy. Okay, yeah, that's a good foundation. But we don't see why certain people views Cap's legacy as it stands. Like Carly's vehement wanting of the destruction of like the shield of Captain America makes no sense because we don't see why she would do it that way. Now, if we've seen like all the decades of like propaganda of people using Captain America's image or whatnot, or of having more kind of like John Walker scenarios where they've had government issued new Captain Americas around promoting like the kind of things that like Carly would be against, that's a different matter. We haven't gotten that. We've got Sam and Bucky doing their thing and trying to cement more of their relationship. We've got Walker's whole scenario going on. We've got Carly thrown in for good measure. We've got Isaiah thrown in for good measure. We've got Val thrown in now as well. And we've got Sharon and Zemo. That's like all those distinct things that need their own kind of stuff thrown into 6 episodes. As we have seen with Game of Thrones, that don't fly very well. And this series doesn't reach the magnificent shit heights or shit lows that Game of Thrones did. But it is a very good comparison of what happens when you don't give enough room to do the plots that you are attempting to do. And this needed at least maybe 10 episodes, if not even more. So, plot salad be here. So, what do we get good off? Well, it's both good and bad. Sam has opened up his Wakandan loot box and got his Wakandan loot suit, which we would have to see how he rates it, which I would say pretty well, because it's able to somehow get him from Louisiana to New York in like record fucking speed. So, unless the Wakandans work together with Lang and Pym to make miniature little magician people to start like pooping out fucking portals, or have like engines that would essentially splatter Sam on the eastern seaboard, him getting there in that time frame is like okay, but we see that the GRC is like freaking out for what's going on, and everything's kind of going off with Carly because they're pretty much trying to stop the vote. Now granted, we understand that they're pretty much getting ready to try and move all the people to their respective places and trying to figure out what to do there. Carly's plan, however, is pretty much just, we're gonna fucking do whatever we can as we go along and just pull the rest out of our ass until the plot demands us to do something else. The plot demands a lot of things happen here. Not the least of which teleporting motherfuckers out of bumfuck nowhere. Because Sam's not the only one that does that. Alright? So, Sam flies in. We see that everybody's freaking out. They're getting out of the room because gas things have been dispersed and they're pretty much trying to take all the important GRC people, which includes the Senator Dickhole. My nickname. I mean, granted, he probably has some kind of character name at this point, but Senator Dickhole for government work. Ha ha ha. So Sam just comes in and is in his Cap outfit, utilizing the shield pretty well, I might add, and comes in, pretty much takes out one of the Flag Smashers, and is like, "Hey, it's Falcon, Captain America." He's like, "I thought he was on the moon," and I like his Cap outfit. It works very well, and it's a nice representation that we've seen from the comics. And I'm like, yeah, all right, we get to see him kind of utilizing how it would. Now, my main issue with that line is that works before there was Walker Captain America. After that, you would think that I understand trying to do callback stuff. It's just like, why? You already had your replacement Cap, dude, John Walker, and that there'd be other kind of stuff as well. It just was a really kind of weird one. I'm like, all right, okay. But he's settling into his role as Cap, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. Bucky, of course, was down on the ground trying to figure out what's going on. The cops referred to him as Sergeant Barnes. And Sam, of course, was talking about how they brought in somebody for help, and that is Sharon. I thought that would be more of a likely thing to do with Joaquin Torres coming in as another Falcon kind of dude. And it's just like, if Sharon had so much issues being like, I'm not going back to the States, and then is immediately able to come into the States at the endgame portion of the show, it's just really kind of weird and takes a little bit of finessing. I don't need everything completely spelled out, but if she made such a stink of like, I haven't been home in like 11 years, it's 11 years because she got screwed over in Civil War. That was about 2016. Now it's like 2023. Because it was like 5 years from 2016 to, well, not 5, 7 years. Why? The time dilation, 7 years. There we go. Once you introduce time travel, it really gets really weird, especially when the cinematic universe is like 5 years in the future, but now, because of everything going on, we're getting close to that. So, she got in pretty easily and led like pretty much Mission Impossible face mask kind of stuff. Like, alright, cool. So, they're pretty much trying to figure out and to protect people. Sam pretty much is like, hey, they're trying to drive people out, using this kind of tactical thinking to be like, all right, keep everybody inside as much as possible. Then Batroc comes out and like, I'm gonna kill your ass, and we get their fight scene. Theirs was the fight scene that I like the best within this because it showed Sam utilizing the shield, what he's been training for, and his suit and everything, and how he takes on a character like Batroc, who is more on his level, though is a very skilled leg martial artist. But the issue comes into effect that later on, some of the action scenes get a little shaky cam for my taste. And I'm like, you always watch out with the shaky cam. Well, they're detailing with that, and he's having to kind of deal with that while other people are trying to go up to the roof, and they're going to pretty much get screwed over there. Bucky gets a conversation where he tries to talk Carla out of doing this shit, and she's like, fuck you, pretty much just delayed you, so fuck you, man. It's like, damn it. Tries to get underground. Tries like, you got one job, Bucky. And he's pretty much trying to get to the people. They put locking mechanisms on these police things that the hostages are in, and they pretty much get driven to a position where they're going to be pretty much stopped. Sharon takes out one of the Flag Smashers with a kind of mercury face melty puddle sludgy kind of thing. It's like, god damn. She like bumps into him, puts that on there. He's like trying to drive in his vehicle and go. Whoop. Bucky, of course, is chasing the vans to kind of like get on what's going on. We then will shift into two separate things. We see Sam utilizing his awesome like wings and everything, flying. He's actually got like 2 red wings at a certain point that we see. They're like really. The Wakandan tech works out pretty well here, and he's trying to fly and has this whole kind of chase sequence that works out pretty well, though he gets into the water at one point and gets very dry very fast. Now granted, high speeds, I understand, would dry him out. It's just like, oh damn. But he's able to pretty much coordinate with one of the higher level people in there to get one of the Flag Smashers out and pretty much drops him in the water. She's able to get control of the helicopter and get her people to safety. Bucky then is able to get to the Flag Smashers that are going after the two vans, and they're trying to do their whole thing. Now, we had seen that the other rest of the Flag Smashers are pretty much met up, and Carly's like, hey, if we can't, get out of this situation, we're just going to kill him. And the people are like, what? Now, this is some place where we would get into a position where there could be some nice dissension in the groups of, why are you fucking deciding to start to just kill people at almost seemingly random now? The plot demands that she wants to go this route. Now, do I mind moral ambiguity and, gray characters? That's fine, of course. What I mind is that at one point, she's, getting medicine and all this kind of stuff, and then she flip-flops because she needs to go complete bad guy. That's not gray. That's acting as how I need to do this now. And everybody's like, what? It would have been cool for them to be like, no, let's not kill these people. How does that achieve our goals? Nobody has been like, what is our goal here? To stop the vote. All right, and how do we move there to get to this whole one world, one people kind of thing? Because they just were a little bit late on the whole thing of finishing out the catchphrase and everything. So they're pretty much trying to get out, but Bucky is pretty much stopping them. Thing is, she then decides to light one of the other vans on fire, so that way Bucky has to save those people. And of course, he makes the choice like that to go and save them. And then Walker pops up. And I'm just like, okay, he teleported out of nowhere. Because the last part he went to, he was in a place making a shield. Alright? He was pretty much in DC to deal with the whole fallout of him murdering a motherfucker in broad daylight. And that even becomes even more problematic as a certain thing happens in this episode. So, he somehow teleported out of nowhere, and even though he was stripped of being Captain America, he still has his government-issued cap suit. I thought it would have been more interesting if he's making a shield, what if he made his own costume and looked kind of weird doing it? And I'm just like, okay, so we just go and teleport, taking that from Game of Thrones, just out of... I understand that in certain instances you have to get to certain places and everything, but if we're supposed to think of this as analogous to the real world, even with some kind of fantastical elements, you gotta kind of give a little bit more on this. So, Walker decides to try and get into this and stop this because he wants Morgenthau. They have a little exchange where, for some reason, Carly's like, I'm sorry about your friend Lamar, he didn't matter, and I didn't really give a shit. I was like, okay, and he's like, Lamar's life didn't matter, so that, of course, gets him on his, fucking angry-ass phase, and he starts to kind of go at him. His shield, of course, is homemade, and pretty much is getting beat to shit. He, of course, does use his medals as, his motivation, and he gets some good hits in. Bucky, of course, is able to get the people out, and he tries to help him, because at one point, I can only explain is that plot demands power level fluctuations. What I mean by this is mainly in a shonen anime like Dragon Ball Z. Power scaling issues come into effect when you get to a certain point and it's like, oh yeah, that villain can blow up planets. Yeah, but this villain can now blow up universes. Yeah, but this person can create a giant galactic donut asshole that can fundamentally warp your senses into a fucking pixie stick. How does that work? As an escalation of that, that's kind of the problem that occurs. And sometimes you got heroes that are super uber powerful, and you got your Goku, and then you gotta somehow flip flop it to a point where somebody else can be able to take them on, where you got your power scaling issues. Here, Walker's able to hold his own for a little bit, even with his shield acting in his aggro phase, and then he somehow gets pretty much ganged up and beat the fucking shit out of before they're about to fucking take a parking meter and rack his ass in. You would think that being at least a little bit on with the super soldier serum at this point, he would be at least a little bit better. on his combat skills, I don't mind that he got into a position where he looked like he was going to get fucking tanked on. But it's got to be better. It's got to be better executed. You need a push and pull in your action scenes that works kind of organically. And it's just like, okay, Walker's got to get his ass beat. And then Bucky, of course, comes in, tackles one dude, pretty much racks his ass on like a chain link fence. And then he pretty much gets like pushed down to where he like does a superhero landing, like in a giant construction site before another dude comes at him with a girder. Walker's able to get out of his scenario and is like pretty much going after Morgenthau, because at this point Walker was able to pretty much hit the rest of the Flag Smashers out, and then he's going after her, and he's pretty much now at a better phase because the plot demands that he's able to actively, effectively fight now before Morgenthau is able to pretty much get away from him, and tries to pretty much drive the puts the one of the other vans in the position to drive the people off. So, of course, Walker's got the choice now to either save the people or go after Morgenthau, and he makes the right decision to go and save the people. I'm glad they're doing the whole thing of the redemption, but the issue and the effect is, if you wanted the murder to be more morally gray, you should have put it better into a position to where it wasn't murder. Like, if you got the context of, like, one of the... Instead of having that dude laying out there begging for his life, pretty much he could be, like, subdued and then Walker shielding his ass. If the dude was, like, holding a baby over a vat of acid and going, wah-ha-ha-ha, and he's, like, has to pretty much, like, use the shield to find, like, catch the baby, which throws the dude off and he falls into the vat of acid. That accidental, you could put that as a morally gray kind of more Punisher kind of thing. Here, because there's only 6 episodes, that kind of redemption kind of arc for him seems a little bit rushed. And you're just like, okay, so I guess saving these people does work out, does make him better. It's like, okay, he made a better choice here. That's cool. I like that. I'm not taking that away from him. It's just... you had him do a pretty fucking bad thing. And I'm like, alright, cool, he's helping that. Bucky, of course, is dealing with his shit down there. The thing is, it starts to kind of like wobble and everything and is almost falling down again, but Sam's able to link up, push it up and everything, and gets everything worked out. Sam comes down, uses his shield pretty badassly to knock some of the Flag Smashers back down, and then, of course, Batroc comes out with a fucking smoke grenade launcher, because, of course he would, and that gives the Flag Smashers enough time to kind of run away, and of course Batroc wants to fucking kill Sam. So now we're at a point where they're pretty much kind of working together, going through the tunnels to try and find everybody. Sam was able to use his goggles, which was pretty awesome, and they're kind of going through, figuring out what's going on. Walker goes off one way. Bucky's like, I gotta watch his ass because he fucking killed a motherfucker last time. So, granted, Bucky doesn't say that, but it's like, I better kind of watch him. And he goes off. And they, of course, are trying to find the other Flag Smashers. I'm just gonna round this up really quick. And they're able to pretty much utilize the app to capture the other 3 ones. And Walker uses a Lincoln quote. And the thing is, they're able to capture them with like a giant horde of like police officers. Now, granted, these are super soldiers. But showing this shows that, like, if Walker had just sat on the dude and been like, okay, he could have detained this dude. He could have detained the dude that he killed at the end of that one episode fairly easily. Because we've got all these cops and they're pretty much ready for anything, and they're able to, like, subdue these people. They're not, like, going hambo-jambo Hulk out and are able to, like, take these things, like, screw these people over. But never mind the fact that if they needed to, Walker and Bucky would have been able to non-lethally subdue these people, since it's proven pretty easily that you can knock their shit out pretty well. And it's just like, oh, God. Alright, continue on. Now we get into the portion where we are revealed that Morgenthal's like running through the tunnels, runs into Sharon because she heard like bird call signs, and they have their little talk, and we find out that Sharon is the power broker because she pretty much wants to control the world that hurt her. And it's like, okay, we need more work done on that, definitely, because it's just like, and she wants her to come work with her, well, mainly because she's a super soldier and she could like utilize the serum and all that. She's calling around on that. It's like, I don't want to empire or power, anything like that. And then while they're going on with that, Patrick's like, oh, you're the power broker. Oh, you're going to pay me 4 times now. It's like, all right. And then they pretty much get into a 3-way standoff. Batroc gets shot and I'm pretty much sure killed. Carly shoots Sharon. And the thing is, Sam is close enough that you would almost think he would be able to figure these kind of things out because Sharon has a layer of ill-gotten gains. Okay? And she works with all these other people, and it's just like, can you not... I don't understand why Sam couldn't figure out that she's like the power broker, even like being in the close proximity of what's going on. So he's pretty much trying to chase after Carly, kind of stop her. She's like, stay down, stay down, stay down. It's like, okay. I kind of wish they had worked on the dialogue a little bit more. It's not horrendous. I've heard fucking worse. But it's like, okay. There's that, like, no point that, like, Carly would have thought to be like, I shot her ass because she's the power broker. Wouldn't that have thrown Sam off for a minute and be like, say what now? That's a piece of information that would have really been interesting and really been helpful for any kind of thing that Carly was trying to do. Because at this point, she's trying to take out the power broker. Alright, cool, fine. But Sam's been working with this person and knows what's going on with this person, and if you had done that, you kind of would have messed around with this like whole fight going on. And granted, I'm a fan of action scenes too, but it's like, what is Carly's objective? Take out the power broker. Alright, how does that help her? It stops somebody from coming after her ass to get super soldier suit. Okay, cool. And helpful of that objective, why don't you tell Captain America what's going on? Oh, we also saw a nice little bridge scene where Sam saved some dudes from some helicopters, utilizing his wings pretty well, and people were cheering and everything. Let's see. That's just important to like his Cap bit, but he pretty much is like, I don't want to fight you. He wants to try and talk it out with her. He pretty much is like in a knockdown position, and she's got the gun trained on him. But of course, Sharon comes out of nowhere and shoots her ass. Carly says she's sorry, doesn't really say anything else, and dies. And Sam, of course, then flies and drops her off, and pretty much gets in contact with Senator Dick Hall, another kind of bigwig GRC person, and the one that he helped from the helicopter. And he's like, oh, thanks for doing everything that you did. People are like, what are you? You're still Falcon? You Captain Falcon? And we had seen something like, oh, that's Black Falcon. It's like, no, that's Captain America. And I don't mind the cheesiness. I'm just like, okay, that's cool. That works out very well. I'm like, nice. Let's do this. And then we pretty much get this whole scene where Sam is, I would almost call it a monologue, but there's other characters involved talking about the whole situation. Now, normally, monologues have to be careful. I'm not saying that you can never do a monologue, because in this instance, I do believe that this is a nice place for this monologue and really exemplifies why Sam is a good Captain America and why he needs to talk about all these kind of things. It's a nice kind of summation point of the series, which is hard to kind of do, but it worked pretty well because, of course, he's like, good job on taking on those terrorists. I was like, stop calling them like terrorists, thugs, refugees. You're getting around the question of why. We're at a point where we have had a shared experience and people are begging for help and everything. You guys, what do you think you'd be called by sending armed people to forcibly relocate them? And so one woman's bringing up, like, do you think it's fair for the government to foot the bill with that kind of stuff? Like, me and Sam were like, yes, because that's the job of the government, because you need to kind of handle that shit, because it is a giant universal thing that had occurred, and you need to help people out that way. Because you bring up, of course, the pushing pull of things of like, people that survived the blip and they moved on, and then the people coming back, is it fair that they're homeless now? If somebody moved into their house, it's like, no, but there's different ways to do it. And he's like, oh, it's complicated and everything, and you don't understand. It's like, yeah, I don't understand it. That's why we all need to talk this out and figure out a way to do this. You can, like, level a forest with an email. You can send money to feed millions. Do that kind of stuff. Talk it out. Try and figure it out. Bring the people in the room that are affected by this, or otherwise you just have the same people there. And talking about the power of an insane god or a misguided teenager. It's like, you want to watch out for Carly 2.0? It's going to be nasty. And of course, we see that Buck and Walker are also looking at this, and Sam kind of closes out his speech and everything like that. He's like, yeah, I gotta go do my stuff. Walker gives him a nod, like, okay, kind of had an understanding of what's going on, because he's Cap now, and he proved why he's Cap. Buck, of course, is like, good job, Cap, and everything like that. They're doing their little jokes and all that. And they see Sharon trying to get her to a hospital, not really, and take her out. And of course, Sam's like, yeah, I'll get you that part. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to do any kind of vast ramifications. Then one dude's like, hey, we got one of those dudes in the river, the one that you dropped off. We kind of need your help wrangling. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll help. And it's just really nice to kind of see that. Let's see. All right. How do we want to deal with the rest of this? So then we pretty much go into kind of like finishing off mode. That's all kind of hammered out. Let us deal with these other kind of things. Bucky, of course, had finished off his list. He goes to Yori, tells him that he killed his son. He was the Winter Soldier, but it wasn't him. Cross his name off the list. Sends the this crossed out booklet and thanks his therapist with a little gift kind of thing. That's kind of cool. I wish there was a little bit more, since there were so many different plots. I like these elements for Bucky, but I wanted at least a little bit more to be derived from it and a little bit more time to like give in and develop it. Let's see here. We get that Sam and Bucky go down. Everybody's like celebrating with Sam and all that, and they're having a nice party. Bucky's brought a cake, of course. He's playing with the nephews and all that. People like on his arm and everything. I kind of like that little stuff, that kind of like community stuff that Sam had with that, and they're just chilling and having a party, celebrating everything going on. Walker is given a new suit and pretty much name drop for the whole U.S. agent thing. And that comes after we see that the Flag Smashers were pretty much all killed by Zemo, which almost showcases that Zemo never needed to leave the cell, thus kind of almost mucking up what was going on with Bucky helping him get out. Zemo really because his butler pretty much blew up the rest of the Flag Smashers and killed that shit off. It's like, okay, I don't mind it happening. I don't mind that neatness of tying up those loose ends. However, it's the whole execution of how it goes down. It's like, we see Zemo sitting in the raft and he gets the information like, I've won. And it's like, okay. It's really kind of weird that Zemo was just utilized for certain plot demanding purposes to get certain things going on. Walker, of course, Val is like, Walker, what are you doing in there? And his comments on Zemo doing this is like, oh, it's almost like I planned. I bet I did. But he wouldn't know if I did. And Walker, of course, gets his new suit as the black and red and everything, typical U.S. agent kind of thing. He's like, I'm back, and it's like has not learned really that much at all. It's like, oh, all right. And I was like, hey, things are about to get weird, and we're not going to need Captain America. We're going to need a U.S. agent, and I don't mind it. It's just almost weird of like when you're doing that whole winky kind of thing. And it's just like, I don't think it's bad, but it's getting on that kind of edge of like, just watch out. And he's just like saying, I'm back. And, well, you're kinda, but not really. If your whole objective was to be Captain America, you've didn't work out that way. You, of course, saved people and are now your own kind of superhero, which I think would have worked better on you, but it's like, alright, we'll kind of have to see how that kind of works out. I think those are pretty much the main kind of hits. The end credits changed the title then from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, which I thought was a nice touch. And then we see at the end credits that Sharon has been issued her pardon, given her old job back, and is pretty much in a position to do the most damage possible. Saying that, like, calling somebody saying, like, oh yeah, super soldiers are off the table, but we got all the stuff that the government has now, so that's going to be fun. And there's, of course, theories now that this Sharon is a Skrull and all that, setting up for Secret Invasion, which I'm, like, okay with, but the whole thing is you have to watch out that you don't tease too much future stuff and not actively develop it to have it be, like, important to the context of what's going on. Like, is Walker working for Val? And he accidentally calls her Val, and she's like, don't call me Val. What is her station within the whole government apparatus? Is she a contractor? Is she an intelligence agency? Is she just some random weird-ass person that for some reason is working with the government and somehow has now got a buddy-buddy system going on with Walker? We needed more time for that development and everything. So, I did enjoy the series, but the thing is, they entirely had too many plots going on, and they didn't do enough for all of them. Now, some hit more than others, and worked out better than others. But it was just like, what? Here's another thing. Sam, of course, after everything goes down, goes to visit Isaiah, and they pretty much talk about what happened, how he's Black Captain America, and he's like, damn right, and he liked his speech and everything, and that what he's doing, and he's like, yeah, I understand that we built this country and everything, and, like, I want to fight for it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a Steve thing. He knows all the bad things that have happened, and he knows that there's injustice and all that, but he wants to fight for a better version of America, and a better version of the world. And that's what him and Steve have in common. Better version of the universe kind of thing. It's that ideal. And he's able to get that with Bradley, and he's like, hey, wash up, and takes him and his grandson. They go down to the Cap Memorial, and they have honored Isaiah Bradley, and they have a thing there talking about everything that went on with him. Now, I don't know if they understand that Isaiah Bradley's still alive, because I thought that would introduce some giant ramifications and everything of being like, hey, let's go get him and pretty much try and make another super soldier serum, because that's what they were doing in this as well. It's just like, holy shit. Oh, see, there's so much stuff that you almost forget certain things. It's like, damn it. Oh, I'm glad I hit that one though, but I almost think that if you're going to do it, Sam and Bucky's relationship should have been more of a focal point, and then you had to pick one other antagonist, whether that be Walker, whether that be Morgenthau, whether that be Zemo. If you're going for Cap's legacy, you should have been Sam and Bucky, and Walker pretty much being the antagonist. That doesn't mean he has to be the villain, but where they start out, they have him doing his shit, fighting like the Watchdogs or something, and he's utilizing tactics that are vastly against what Cap is about, and Sam and Bucky go to stop him and whatever's going on. The Watchdogs are in the background, and you can devote enough time for like what they're doing, but don't make them take it up. The main conflict there would have been there. Same kind of thing with like what you do with the Flag Smashers. Round out more of what they're trying to do, and have Sam and Bucky go out on that. Or Zemo. If you're doing the whole thing with the focus of the legacy of Captain America and what that means, I think your best kind of option would have been like Sam, Bucky, Walker. And that way you have it more focused, especially if you're doing a short order miniseries of pretty much 6 episodes. Otherwise, you've got everything bungling around. It's like, holy crap. And not saying that you can't include Isaiah in there as well. Ugh. It's hard to kind of fit in depending upon what the objective is and what the themes are of what you're trying to convey. Oh, it's really weird because I liked it in the beginning, and I still enjoyed it and had fun with it. but there are vast problems that came into effect of spinning too many plates, not being able to develop everything in a timely manner because of how short this thing was. And that means that certain motivations get truncated or get flip-flopped and changed haphazardly, and people don't get the development they need to. And like Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smasher concept was not as well done as it could have been and should have been. It almost became almost completely incomprehensible towards the end because it needed to act in whatever way the plot needed it to do certain things. It's very freaking weird. And Zemo was just utilized as almost a plot device to do certain things, to move the plot along, to get to certain objectives. Very fucking weird. I mean, I'm glad that we got Sam as Captain America, and then of course they're moving forward with Captain America 4 with the people involved in the show moving that as well. It's just like, oh crap, that all these different plates and all these different spinning things. I'm like, Sam and Bucky, everybody deserved better. All these stories deserve better. And I'm not saying that if I was doing a pass or fail scale, that they like all were horrible, crappy ass things at all. But Bucky and Sam were like the strongest, had the strongest parts done, even though Bucky kind of got really shafted towards the end. Walker had a nice strong bit, but like Zemo, we got development on him and we got motivations in certain things, but it was just like he would pop up randomly towards the end for that one thing. It's like, what? Carly was just started out with a concept that you understood, and then you see it escalate, but those escalations go all over the place. It's like, what? I don't know. I just was kind of disappointed with how everything was kind of wrapped up, even though things aren't really wrapped up. I understand this is the end of this portion of the story and that there's more bits to come, but we'll have to kind of see how that kind of works out. If like US Agent's going to get their own series, if Zemo's going to get their own series, what's going to go on with Isaiah Bradley and of course his grandson, because they're heavily factored within the Young Avengers. You have to be careful that you need to craft a narrative that has its beginnings, middles, and ends, and don't just keep going like, oh, this will serve us for this next thing and next thing. You have to be careful so that way you don't like jam pack in all these seeds and you kind of fuck them over for the future if you're not careful. I don't know. I enjoyed certain bits of this series, and others I think they could have done a lot better. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.